MLS Aces Podcast. This is your host, Tom Sweezy. This is episode 338. We are back. Jason Vivang back with me. Jason, I'm going to just give my quick disclaimer to the listeners, the viewers of this podcast. It has been almost a month to the day that we have dropped.
We miss you.
We've missed you.
Yeah.
I think I'm not going to get into too many personal details, but between the both of Jason and myself, in the last month, we've had 2 deaths, a new job, and a major surgery to their wife. That was me on that one.
The way you said that.
So
a lot's changed. We're struggling, but we're back.
Literally, the physical health not doing good because it's been a lot.
The mental health is
mental health's been gone a while. So
we're like soccer is our escape.
Which it's always been. Major League Soccer has always been the escape. And we're hoping we can continue to be that escape for you guys listening, watching. The followership on social media has been great. So thank you to the people there. We've been watching a lot of soccer in between all of the negative shit going on. So we'll talk about that soccer.
And I've been great at avoiding the negative commentary.
There we go. Yeah, we're doing all positives after the last month of negative.
Until we talk about I'm just kidding. I actually have pretty good positives. Like I'm not that upset anymore.
It's been long enough. And
the lead up to the Gold Cup was tough, but
maybe that's the positive thing about us missing some time and now digesting all of this to talk now is we're not as emotionally reactive negative to everything that's happened. So
we're not terminally in the weeds.
literally, which I live in. That's my MO.
The bread and butter is the weeds of MLS and US Soccer Twitter, which is, oh my God, not a great place to be digging around.
But if you are digging around on there, follow us at MLS Aces.
Exactly. Yeah, we are actually a bright spot.
Yes.
A dark world.
Blue Sky, we're on there too. If you guys want podcast platforms, please follow us, rate us, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you can review, not all platforms you can, but please do that. So Jason, where do you want to start? You want to go USMNT? I feel like that's
I kind of want to do USMNT.
Pretty fun topic to go over. So ultimately, we missed talking on the podcast about every single USMNT game.
We did great previews. So if people watched our preview and then are listening to this podcast, they're gonna get the whole deal. Like, did we really need to explain to them how a 5-0 win against Trinidad was a pretty good result?
No, but it was a good result. I mean, that is fair. So obviously, group stage, like Jason said, 5-0 win over Trinidad. Then we won the second game, 1 over Saudi Arabia, and then the 2-1 final group stage game win over Haiti. Then quarterfinals, it's the 2-2 game against Costa Rica. We win in PK. Shout out Matt Freeze. Semifinal, that unbelievable.
That's your guy.
Matt's my dude.
He made 3 saves in that PK shootout.
I mean, he might be goalkeeper number 1 right now. We'll get into that conversation.
Might be. I mean, he is.
He's propelled himself into the conversation.
Give me the conversation, okay? Let's just go into it. We're gonna go with the feels.
Hang on. I'm just finishing the recap for people. It was the 2-1 semifinal win over Guatemala, which great game. Shout out Guatemala. I have a Guatemala take that I might throw in at the end. And then obviously Gold Cup final, 2-1 loss to El Tri, to Mexico. The first time the U.S. has lost to Mexico in an official competition since the 2019 Gold Cup final. Back-to-back losses for the U.S. against Mexico. We lost to them 2-0 in a friendly at the end of last season or last calendar year, whatever it may be. Okay. It was a tournament that I think we fully expect the USMNT to perform in, right? You dominate the group stage, you play a little bit tougher competition in the knockouts, and then ultimately you face Mexico in a final where it's going to be a tough-fought game. Yeah. You win or you lose, and that's just how the USMNT in Mexico and CONCACAF goes. It was like the most classic Gold Cup I think I could have predicted for the USMNT. So before we get into players, Jason, overall USMNT thought, anything there?
I mean, personally, I think I texted you this. They're a top 2 team in the region, like they always have been. I don't really care who gets called up. I still have the expectation that they're a top 2 team in the region.
Yes.
While I wish I could sit here and be like, oh yeah, we're better than Mexico. We all, but like the facts are the facts, right? Like, sure, we had a great run against Mexico. Mexico was never gonna just like roll away though. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining it the right way that I'm thinking about it, but it's more like I never believed that it was just gonna be us above Mexico forever. And
no, yeah,
they're like at this stage. And you could argue, like, okay, missed who wasn't there, right? Anthony Robinson, who's going to be a starter, Pulisic, McKennie, Dest, Weah. Like, there's a lot of players that are either at this point probably fringe starters or full on starters, like the Anthony Robinson's starting in this team 1,000 times out of 1,000. But
Max Arfston hate is incredible.
I personally think it's a little overblown. I feel like he had some good performances and some bad performances.
Well, I'll talk Max Arfston in a second. I don't want to.
But my point is, like, I'm not looking at this loss as like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Which, like, it felt like the sky was falling with those friendlies before going into the Gold Cup. Yeah. Like, things were not great. There was the Pulisic interview that I don't think we've talked about on this podcast.
We talked about it slightly with Landon's comments back to it and all that.
But like that there was a lot of like rockiness going in, and I feel like the Gold Cup made me feel better about where we were because a lot of guys, and I'm sure we're going to talk about people who I think like played up, really made some waves here. I think there's a lot who I would almost say are pretty much 1 foot into the World Cup team next year. Obviously, there's a full season to play in between now and then, but there's a lot of players who I think played themselves up. There's maybe a few that kind of played themselves out of the conversation, but even in those scenarios, and I feel like the Max Arfston hate is a little overblown in my opinion because, like, this is his first major tournament with the U.S. national team. Like, it's a learning experience. This is the first time he's ever been on the field with half of these players. Maybe pretty much all of them, actually. It's I guess, like, you have listed your, like, I scrolled away, but it was like who rose their stock,
like stock up, stock down.
Stock down. But I feel like even in some of the cases of the stock down, and in more of like some of the players that you didn't list in that, I feel like there's a third group that's like wasn't amazing, but I'm not ready to just be done. Like I want to see more. I think like Arfston would fall into my it wasn't amazing, but I want to see more. I actually think Alex Freeman is in that group too. Like
I agree. So one, as we're recording this live,
there's a long talk.
No, there's a struggle.
Our brains are mush.
There's 6 games going on. There's 2 MLS games, 2 Open Cup games, 2 Canadian Championship games. Messi just scored against the Revs. So just wanted to say that.
Yeah, it was not because I got to look over.
Not a great goal, but a goal's a goal.
Probably should have been saved.
I think if the last piece that I wanted to comment on from what you said about the larger kind of USMNT picture, since we were kids and before that, and I think as it continues on into the future, I think the concept of CONCACAF being run by Mexico and the U.S. is just going to go through its waves of ups and downs. Yeah. Whoever has the better, young talents coming in, and I think right now, I think Mexico, the U.S., and I'm going to lump Canada into that, all kind of messes. From a leadership federation down to the players, down to the play on the field.
You mean Jesse Marsh's comments are not healthy?
You mean the Canadian Soccer Federation's insane? And
you mean the federation who got hit the fire at like multiple coaches for spying on other teams?
Yeah, and look, even Mexico, who I think are probably doing the best, not probably, they just won the Gold Cup, the last major competition before the World Cup. They're doing the best of the 3, and Mexico still, I don't feel confident in being a good national team right now.
Let's put it this way, at the World Cup, I wouldn't really bet a lot of money on any 3 of, like, if someone said, like, gun to my head, who's going the furthest in the World Cup out of those 3, It would be tough. I'd probably say us, I think.
I
don't know. I would probably have to look at the
Mexico.
groups, but like realistically, it would be close. Like I feel like Mexico is out of the three. I guess Canada got absolutely blanked at the last World Cup, right?
Yeah.
But I don't feel like Mexico has played as well against larger competition.
No,
which I might just be in my head about, but
no disrespect. I mean, no disrespect to my own soccering nation here. CONCACAF doesn't typically do well. CONCACAF's not like, I guess, the Asia where I feel like, you get a run from a Korea or a Japan every once in a while, or Africa where you get a run.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, like it's sort of on par with those in some ways.
Yeah.
Like the U.S. made a quarterfinal, right?
Yeah. Sure, that's fair. I just think right now, I do think Mexico slightly has the lead in the federation or in the
CONCACAF.
Thank you.
Power rankings or whatever.
In CONCACAF power ranking, sure. Just because I think Raul Jimenez is on a burner right now. He's fantastic. I do think Edson Alvarez is a fantastic player. Obviously, he had the game winner in the final that Alex Freeman held him onside for. Not going to hold it against you, Alex. But that hurt. And then obviously the whole handball stuff, that whatever about that at this point. It was a fine tournament from the USMNT. This was a team that lost 4 straight games going in. This was a team that I wasn't confident was going to make a final, and they did. Was it the hardest competition? Did they avoid Canada on the way? Yes. But
do I think they would have beaten Canada? Also, yes.
Yeah. But do I think Canada would have given us more of a run for our money than what Costa Rica did and what Guatemala did? And
Costa Rica we would have played either way. It would have just been Guatemala.
And I mean, Guatemala scored late, and the U.S. were defending for their fucking lives.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't a smooth. Yeah, that's a good point. But
yeah,
I mean, Guatemala, like, you maybe get your point on them because, like,
okay,
a hell of a tournament for them.
I'll give my Guatemala take before we get into individual USMNT players. Guatemala in the calendar year 2025 have only lost 3 games overall. They've lost to the U.S. 2-1. They lost to Panama, another team that's on a pretty hot rise in CONCACAF right now, 1-0 in this Gold Cup.
And then beat them like a week later, right?
And then, they beat them. And then in World Cup qualifying, because that's still going on, that, we're not really talking about, they lost to Jamaica 3-0 and then beat Jamaica in the following game. So they've beaten Jamaica, they've beaten the DR, they've beaten Guadeloupe, they've advanced past Canada in a Gold Cup competition. They've beat Jamaica in a Gold Cup competition. They drew El Salvador in a friendly earlier in the year. Guatemala might be outside, if we're looking at the rest of the CONCACAF teams that are vying for a World Cup spot. I think Guatemala might be my pick for getting that automatic spot and avoiding the World Cup playoff game or whatever it is, a whole bracket that I think there's like 2 playoff teams that are going to make it or something like that. But still, Guatemala, shout out. They put up a hell of a fucking fight in this competition, and they put the U.S. on their back legs for the remaining 20 minutes of that U.S. game or whatnot. So. Yeah. Just shout out Guatemala.
It also took like an incredible Diego Luna performance.
Yeah, I mean, shout out Moonboy, big balls on that kid. So let's
someone who played himself into the World Cup.
So that's the way you worded that is a way that I have to really dissect because I have to do the Tom Sweezy thing here. Realistically, how many of the players from this Gold Cup squad, and I'm talking everyone, do you think confidently has a World Cup roster spot right now? Because by my
really see the names, I can't remember anything.
It's totally fine. I'll give you some time. By my accounts, I think 3 players from this roster right now have a World Cup roster spot. I think it's Chris Richards, who's
Chris Richards,
easily center back 1. I think it's Tyler Adams. Yeah. And I think it's Tim Ream still, to be perfectly honest, which may be a wild take. But I think
think Matt Freese?
No, because I think the goalkeeper competition group is such a like Matt Freese played well, but I don't think he played well enough to be like.
I agree, but like we're talking 3 goalkeepers at the World Cup
If
next
you
year.
if you told me that next year the World Cup goalkeeper group is some combination of like Gaga Slonina, Patrick Schulte, Roman Celentano, Chris Brady, Matt Turner, Zach Steffen, Matt Freese, Ethan Horvath, or even like a CJ Dos Santos, you could pick any 3 of those names right now. They're all on
That's
the
a
same.
good point. Okay,
They're all on the same page.
I do agree. Okay, that. I mean,
So-
yeah. I mean, I would probably have said Matt Turner before this whole thing went down, but yeah.
I'm going to correct my own self here. I'll add a 4th player to that list from this roster, and that's Malik Tillman. So
Okay.
4 players from this roster.
I was gonna probably say Malik Tillman, and I have it open now. So,
Anyone else that you disagree with or you would add or remove?
I would add Diego Luna personally.
I think he's right there now.
I think he's in because I think Poch loves him.
My only concern is we saw Luna playing a lot on the left wing. Obviously, there's one very famous USMNT star that
You're not saying starting though. You're just
Yes.
saying making the World Cup final roster.
That
I
is
think
fair.
Diego Luna will be on the final World Cup roster.
Diego
Unless,
Luna's-
I mean, this is obviously barring any injuries.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see him having a very poor rest of season and then start of season, I guess. I don't see that.
If he remains with Real Salt Lake, yes, I think he plays himself into because
True. If he goes to Europe and doesn't play,
exactly,
that's a different story.
And we've seen Pochettino value players who are playing regularly.
Right. And I think Malik Tillman's a good one because he's moving to Leverkusen where he's going to play probably a lot.
Look, if he moves to Leverkusen,
I would also argue that Malik Tillman, like I know Diego Luna was probably the flashiest like player at this tournament, but I think Malik Tillman was the best player for the US at this tournament.
It's not that crazy of an argument.
It's probably not a hot take, but like
yeah.
It was just like very consistent performances.
I'm gonna say Chris Richards was the best US player at this tournament.
But is Chris Richards the highest profile player at in this team?
Tyler Adams probably, right?
I would probably have said yes, but Tyler Adams is hurt like week in and week out.
Well,
Chris Richards just came off of a Premier League season where he played like most of the games, and for Palace, who finished mid-table, their best ever finish actually,
won
and
an FA Cup.
Yeah.
Richards played 32 games this year. I just did this whole research before, so I'm a nerd. Yes, Richards played 32 games for Palace this year. Adams played 32 games for Bournemouth this year.
Wow,
that's kind of.
If you had said how many, Messi just scored again.
Boom.
If you had said how many games did Tyler Adams play for Bournemouth this year, I would have probably said less than 20.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's fair, but
I'm trying to think of anyone else. I liked what I saw from Sebastian Berhalter.
So I was gonna say, I think we can transition now into the guys that didn't maybe go full stock down, but kind of just kept them not on like.
I personally think nobody in this team was, in my opinion, like full stock down. Like never want to see them again.
That's a very extreme take. There are players to me.
Never want to see him again.
There are players to me that definitely win. I wouldn't want to see you next call up, but if I never see you, like never see again's harsh. Never see again's left for like
never. Okay, how about this? This is better
after.
because we're a year away from the World Cup. The next games are going to be friendlies probably, and then we're going to have like gear up friendlies for the World Cup. So essentially, the next like probably 6 to 10 games, I would think, in the next year, will be likely closer and closer to the final World Cup roster.
So guys that I don't want to see on the next
I feel like is more fair. Like I feel like there's a lot of guys on this roster, like a Max Arfeston, who I want to see again, but I don't think we'll see again, at least this World Cup cycle.
Okay, so if we're saying Luna, Tillman, Richards, and Tim Ream and Tyler Adams are on the definites, if we're going,
I don't know if Tim Ream's on the definite.
I don't know, man. He's still center back number 2 at 37 years old, which is kind of ridiculous. Like no other center back has outplayed him. Mark McKenzie
Well,
didn't.
yeah, and they looked
Robinson
bad in a
didn't.
lot of these games.
I
Walker
mean,
Zimmerman did not.
no.
That's actually one where I'm kind of done. And I love Walker Zimmerman, but I don't think at the U.S. men's national team level.
At this point in his career, for sure.
Yeah, I'm ready. I need to see it again.
I will say on the opposite, right? The guys that I'm okay with not seeing in the World Cup roster conversation, definitely Walker Zimmerman. I think John Tolkien to me played himself out of it. He with no help from Pochettino, because John Tolkien got like subbed in as like a left winger at one point. Like,
I mean, if we go group by group, I feel like any of the goalkeepers, like we're not really. Any of them can be in the conversation, like you said. Pretty much. I'm saying
like guys I don't want to see again. I think it's John Tolkien. I think it's Walker Zimmerman. I'm gonna say Luca De La Torre just never really impresses me.
Cardoso
level. No, he's still
in the conversation, but I want to see like a really good performance.
Yeah. That's kind of it though. To me, it's those three names. Brendan Aronson really doesn't do anything for me anymore, to be perfectly honest.
It feels like Brian White isn't going to see more US.
Yeah, that one.
Sadly, because I think like he's an absolute machine in MLS, but it feels like he's kind of out of it. I really want to see more Damian Downs.
Yeah, and shout out Damian Downs. He just got the move official to Southampton today, so congratulations there. He will another USMNT player.
Patrick Ajamang, Jack McGlynn, and I think I had one more. And Berhalter are three that like I don't think played amazing, but I think are definitely like I want more.
Played fine enough to.
They're also young, and I see a future where they're in the team.
The only player that I think I would add to that, but I definitely agree with you on Berhalter for sure. The only player I'd add to that is Alex Freeman. And, and Max Arfston. So, do I think Max Arfston?
That's the Max Arfston conversation was like the most annoying one. Okay,
he had his moments, bro, but like the thing is. The biggest thing about Max Arfston is he's a converted full winger coming, out of his youth career to a Columbus Crew team that plays a very particular way where he's playing a left wing back role with the back three. Transitioning to the national team level, playing a full-time left back.
They also don't play similar to Nancy's system at all.
No. This is the thing to me, is if Max Arfston was your left back coming off the bench, giving you a little bit of a switch up, a different kind of look from an Anthony Robinson, love it. Because Max Arfston is not Anthony Robinson. Anthony Robinson looks to cross. Arfston's looking to get inside.
And no one's Anthony Robinson. The guy is one of the
100%.
He's probably the arguably best, if not best, second or third on Fulham.
He's probably the best left back in the Premier League, but whatever.
Well,
to
me, maybe.
To me,
he's up there. He's definitely in the conversation.
10 assists, and played every game for Fulham. That's all I'm saying. To me, Max Arfston is a guy I'm okay with seeing as if you need an attacking presence late in the game, if you need to switch it up from Anthony because he's logged every minute for you in every competition you're playing. I'm okay with Max Arfston being that guy. I just don't think he can be your full-time left back option because we saw it in the Gold Cup final against Mexico. How much did Diego Luna have to take away from his game to overcompensate and play more defensive because Max Arfston was pushing up the field so much, which completely removed Luna from the game. Yeah. You saw it affect Tyler Adams. He's such a defensive liability that it takes almost a whole other player out of the game. But you deal with deal with the defensive liability because
it's also learning habits and stuff. You can't tell me that the next time they call him up, it's going to be the same.
I don't think he is a great defensive player. I think he's a fantastic attacking piece, 100%. I just don't think he is a defender. I don't.
Yeah.
I think the dude is a wing back and a winger, and he is not playing left back. He should not be playing a strict left back and a back four. If, again, you're down a goal, it's the 70-something minute, and you need to get a little creative, throw Max Arfsten at left back and go for the game. Sure, but
if you're all out attack,
but I'm not starting Max Arfsten against Switzerland because we saw what happens.
Yeah.
He gets burned most of the time.
Non-stop.
It's the unfortunate. I think he's the type of player that he's a good player. You take the good with the bad. The good is he's going to get inside.
It's also there's a lot of people who were watching him for the first time.
Yeah.
And I think that added fuel to the
thing. Why is this kid getting called up?
Because, like, oh my God, this kid is horrible. Like, he just got burned for 90 minutes. It's like, wait a second. There's a reason he's in the team. Like, they go watch some of his Columbus games, please.
When Pochettino goes back to the Premier League and Wilfried Nancy is hired as the manager of the U.S. men's national team, Max Arfsten will be a stud. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that you want to talk about in terms of this middle ground you want to see again? Didn't wow you, but you didn't hate the performances?
Like, had bright spots. I mean, I think the other two I mentioned, Pat Agyemang and Jack McGlynn. And I texted you about Jack McGlynn. Like, I personally think he has that, like, it factor to just, like, do something crazy. Like, I don't know if coming off the bench is probably a bit strange for him since he's like the most important player in Houston.
Literally.
But I want to see more from both of them. And like Agyemang, I like a lot. I want to see more. Obviously it's like another player where like there's clear talent. It's just putting that like final bit together to be consistent and actually like with that one goal he scored. I'll probably have to. There's so many games, but he's had one goal that was just like beautifully, like a great running behind. And like there's moments like that, but then there's a lot of bad moments.
Patrick Agyemang to me is, I think, what we see now as like such a super classic kid coming out of NCAA soccer that is such a talented player, gets to the professional level and has such growing pains. I think we saw it with Kyle Larin back with Orlando City, Daryl Dike.
I was going to say Daryl Dike. I'm still not out on Daryl Dike. Like, I'm sad that he moved.
Daryl Dike needs to play more than 2 games. Okay, he needs to be healthy, and I love Daryl Dike.
We thought he was the guy.
I looked up his stats. He played 11 games for West Brom last year, 1 goal, 1 assist. So shout out Daryl Dike. But still, it's a good comparison of, I think, Agyemang is a super raw talent. There is such talent there. Back to goal, big-bodied kid, fantastic. I think the finishing is just such a piece that's like you want to just see it take the step, and he just doesn't take the step sometimes.
But he's what, 20, 21?
No, Agyemang's like 23, 24.
Okay, well, that's still pretty young.
And he's rumored to be moving to why can't I think of the club, the championship club? It's gonna kill me.
I have no idea.
Tom Bogert's been it's so close. Oh God, hang on. Derby County. Okay. So yeah,
Googled it, and the second thing is Derby.
Agyemang's 24, and yes, Tom Bogert's been reporting that a deal is pretty much done for him to move to Derby.
I mean,
this summer.
World Cup roster.
He's there. He's
is
in
it for sure Balogun?
No.
Not starting. I mean, like in the team. I was going to list more names. I just had a little bit of a blank.
Sorry. To me, the striker pool is the same as the goalkeeper pool. If you told me the 3 strikers made it on a roster and it was Balogun, Pepe, Sargent, Wright, Damian Downs, Agyemang, Brian White, someone like that, Brandon Vazquez even, I'd believe any of the 3 of those names that you threw at me from that group.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree. I feel like there's a little bit more of a gap. But that's tough. I really don't know.
What has Balogun done in the last 2 years? Pepe and Sargent probably the top 2 names on that list.
I think Pepe is in the squad.
He had a really bad end of year with PSV. He had a not good year. Look, Damian Downs could have a fantastic year in the
I wasn't going to say Damian. I don't know if I put – I don't even know. I like Brandon Vazquez I don't think is in the team. I would be surprised.
As of right now, Brandon Vazquez just got carted off the field of a U.S. Open Cup game last night. So that might hurt some World Cup stock. Sorry to Brandon.
Oh, my God. Yeah, no wonder.
Wish you very good
I thought we were talking no injuries.
Sorry, if there was, but we have to look at a world where there's injuries.
James Sands, also a world where he's already injured. So.
James Sands most likely won't be on the U.S. Open Cup roster because he's been dealing with a knee injury. So I mean, the injuries are real, unfortunately, right now. But yeah, I mean, look, to me, the striker group, I think again, if I'm assuming 3 strikers, the striker group is wide open. It's all I gotta say. The same with the goalkeeper group.
It kind of concerns me, honestly. But.
The amount of unsteady names outside of
center backs, after Chris Richards.
And our 38-year-old other center back. Yeah, I mean.
It's CCV, maybe?
don't even know where CCV's been. Don't know why he wasn't part of this group. Mark McKenzie hasn't been great.
I love Mark McKenzie, friend of the pod, but yeah, not.
Miles Robinson hasn't been great. Austin Trusty, I mean, he's playing for Celtic. That's,
What's his name? Who got hurt? Matt Miazga? Is he going to come back eventually?
I'd like to see Tristan Blackman over Matt Miazga at this point, just saying. But
I mean, I don't. Yeah, he's just a name. Throw him in the hat. Honestly, pull out a name.
I think the larger conversation to me about this group,
there's more uncertain positions than certain positions.
There's a lot of uncertainty off the field with the Pulisic comments and Landon Donovan, and it feels
is it uncertain though? Pulisic is in the team.
No, I'm not saying uncertain that Pulisic won't make the team. I'm saying there feels just a lot of generational U.S. player tension fighting. Pochettino, there's a lot of reports. Is he in? Is he out? And then if we're actually talking about what the quote-unquote A-team roster looks like, I don't think anyone knows what that looks like, to be perfectly honest. I don't know what that looks like.
No, if you asked me to write down the whole team sheet, I'd be like, I don't know.
That's
Anthony
why
Robinson.
When literally him and Pulisic. That's why when people are like, yeah, we made it to a Gold Cup final and lost to Mexico's A team with our B team 2-1. Was that our B team? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I actually don't think it was our. That's why if I say it, I'm like, it's in quotes, okay? It's our B team. Who fucking knows? We don't know what our A team is.
Just because Robinson and Pulisic wasn't there doesn't mean that was the B team. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think people were probably like, oh, McKennie, Musa, but
sure, but
some of them have played not that great.
What I was going to say is, Yunus Musa was awful for Milan last year. Weston McKennie, sure. Johnny Cardoso, he was a move
in this team. He just couldn't play
I think he left or whatever because he got the move. Because he's finalizing the move to Atletico Madrid or whatever. Yeah, I don't know, bro. I don't know with the U.S. I'm just not confident.
I don't know, but we spent 30 minutes on the U.S.
That's fair.
In a pod that we have a million things to talk about.
So let's move on. Shout out the women's team. Look, it was 3 more friendlies, 3 more wins, 2 wins against Ireland, and a big win against Canada. Honestly,
all were dominant wins.
I mean, it was just like we said last time we talked when the women's team had 3 friendlies and won all 3 of them. It's a really good, I think, transition to a younger generation and has been a really strong bounce back where I think this group was 18 months ago. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, totally fair.
All right, I'm going to run through some more fun news and notes of what's happened since we've last since we last recorded. Michael Bradley has been named the manager of New York Red Bulls 2 and MLS Next Pro. That's fun. Going back to the team he got drafted to. That's just always a little fun nugget I wanted to throw in there.
You said fun news and notes, and 90% of what you're about to say is injuries.
I'm not going to the next one yet. I'm not.
Okay, good.
So the next fun news and notes. San Jose Earthquakes, they've begun the process of selling controlling interest in the club. Current majority owner John Fisher has been the primary owner for the Quakes since 2008 after bringing the club back from a 2-year hiatus. Fisher and fellow minority owners in that time have seen the creation of a privately financed PayPal Park, won the 2012 MLS Supporter Shield, and have built out a pretty strong academy. Couldn't think of the word academy side. The Vancouver Whitecaps are currently for sale. Real Salt Lake were sold earlier this year. A lot of ownership change and trying to sell right now, which probably makes sense with the World Cup.
I'm trying to read into what that might mean because I feel like you would want to hold on to the team right before a World Cup in the country, but I don't know.
you sell when it's hot because you want to sell.
Is it though? Is it going to be hotter in a year or 2 years?
Maybe you're betting on the fact that there's a lot of interest right now because it's the build up and it's exciting and blah blah blah, and then when it's over and
they afraid it's just going to dud out?
Maybe. Which look, it's always, I think with that it's like, let's just say 10 new people watch soccer or watching the World Cup next summer. What, 2 are going to hang on and probably watch Major League Soccer? 1 of that 10 is going to hang on and watch Major League Soccer. So maybe it's the sell before the
So you're saying 10% of new fans? That seems high, actually.
I mean, that seems probably not a bad number if you go bigger than just.
I mean, if they increase their fans by 10%, it's a pretty big deal.
It's probably less than 10%, but still, you get what I'm saying.
No, yeah.
All right, so let's move on. I'm trying to think of other fun stuff before I get to the negatives.
Club World Cup? I don't know. That's not really. I mean, that's a longer conversation, but
yeah, let's go. I'll quickly run through some transfers. Stop me if you have something you want to say about any of these.
There's too many. I'm not stopping you.
I mean,
actually, maybe Giroud.
I was going to say that there's a few I'm looking at right now. I feel like you're stop me on. LAFC, they've had some roster turnover, so they signed winger Javier Del Rosan on a DP deal through the end of July on a loan from Liga MX. So pretty much he is the replacement for Cengiz Unger, who left, and obviously it was more of a signing for the Club World Cup. That's over for them now. I don't think Del Rosan has scored yet for LAFC, so I don't know if they're going to hang on to that DP spot with him, but we will see. LAFC also lost center back Marlon, whose contract expired in early July, and LAFC and DP striker Olivier Giroud have mutually parted ways from his contract. Giroud joined Lille in Ligue 1. Jason, I think obviously the Olivier Giroud conversation probably is one we should just quickly say something about.
I don't know if there's much conversation around it. Like, I feel like it is logical.
No,
I don't think Giroud performed at anywhere near the level that LAFC was expecting of him, and I think many fans, including myself, thought he could be more of an impact. And I think it's good business that LAFC kind of just said, okay, this isn't working, and got off of it quicker than I would think most MLS teams probably would.
I mean, LAFC have a pretty good track record of doing that. They get off of bad contracts pretty quickly.
They're not, but even with Giroud, like, they're not sitting on it thinking maybe
it'll work out.
Yeah, like, I think a lot of teams, sure, like LAFC have been good about getting off of contracts they don't like and players that don't perform. But most of them aren't the profile of Olivier Giroud. Yeah. So I think I mean, I know the fire stuck with Shaqiri far too long. I mean,
yes,
it's similar to that. Like, if Giroud was probably a little bit worse than Shaqiri was, honestly, because Shaqiri did have pretty good moments. So it's a little harsh on him, to be fair. But my point is, I think there's a lot of teams that would sit on an Olivier Giroud contract longer, hoping for something, and LAFC getting off of it, I think, is good business for them.
Yeah. I mean, look, he had 3 goals and 2 assists in 18 games this year for LAFC. It's just not DP level numbers that we're talking about. And Giroud, I think he had some public comments saying
he also just outside of the goals in the assists, he just wasn't that impactful from a being on the field standpoint.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I think he was very honest. I think he had an opening press conference with Lille where he said something to the extent of like, just the game in America like didn't fit my style or whatever, which is fair. Yeah. I mean, look, he's an almost 40-year-old striker. Like, he's not getting down in physical with
look, I still love Olivier Giroud. Like, I don't think I don't think this hurts his career. Like, I'm not looking at his career any differently because he had a bad run with LAFC. It's just like, it was bad. Everyone knows it's bad. It sounds like himself included, and they moved on. And hopefully he can find better form at Lille. Where yeah, he
Yes.
went to Lille. Yeah.
The scary thing to me for LAFC is like, look, if depending on whatever happens with De La Rosa, they're gonna have 2 open DP spots to fuck around with, and this is a strong team and a team that I want to say is going to compete for trophies in 2024 and beyond. So we will see what happens. I don't know if the Griezmann thing is still happening, but we will see. Let's move forward through some more of these moves. FC Dallas, they lost Manuel Show Kafumana as his loan ends with Maccabi Haifa. Dallas did not choose to extend the loan there, and they also sold homegrown goalkeeper Antonio Carrera to Tigres in Liga MX. So good business there from Dallas. Yep. CF Montreal, they have signed goalkeeper Thomas Millier on loan from Bologna for the rest of the 2025 season and an option for 2026. They've also sold midfielders Dominic Yankov and transferred Nathan Saliba to Anderlecht. Just want to quickly say Nathan Saliba, obviously a big-time talent, Canadian international. He's been getting called up by Jesse Marsh. Classic CF Montreal selling a big-time young talent to a pretty big club in Europe, and hopefully Anderlecht is a spot that he can grow. It's a $3 million deal plus some add-ons, and Montreal are just going to make that money. So shout out Nathan Saliba.
That money in a
literally no trophies, just money.
They're not going to do anything with that money though. You're muted. I was like, it's so quiet.
We're back. Technical difficulties. I said CF Montreal.
Is that a technical difficulty?
If I just hit my own wire.
If you mute yourself.
CF Montreal.
I do it all the time.
Their Canadian Championship game is interrupted right now. So, I was about
to say
more
rain.
Trophies. Literally just rain.
I spent I told you, I spent like an hour and a half looking at, what was that? Philadelphia Stadium in the rain.
Yeah. Subaru Park, very nice stadium, by the way. I've been there. All right, got to roll through these. Atlanta United, they've signed Albanian international center back Ania Mihaj as a free agent. He last played over in Portugal. Again, Jason, interrupt me if you have anything you want to say on these. Portland Timbers, they've transferred left back Claudio Bravo to Argentine club Argentinos Juniors for a fee of around $900,000, according to Tom Bogert. Tom Bogert also reporting that the Red Bulls did not pick up the purchase option or extend the loan for DP midfielder Felipe Carballo. He will return to Gremio. Charlotte FC, they have extended the loan for Pep Biel through the end of the 2025 season. He will not be a DP, according to Tom Bogert, because we get our entire podcast from Tom Bogert.
Interesting. I feel like that's an interesting move. I don't know. I don't really know what Charlotte's trying to do anymore. I feel like I was excited about them, and then they had like 15 weeks of losses with like 2 wins.
Pep Biel, outside of Charlotte kind of sucking the last little bit, Pep Biel has been fantastic.
Charlotte has been pretty horrible since April 26th.
I'm not sitting here defending.
They have 2 wins, a tie, and 9 losses in that span in MLS play.
Yeah. I'm just saying I don't think that's due to Pep Biel's efforts.
No. I said it's pretty good business to retain him. I'm just saying I don't really understand why Charlotte is playing the way they're playing. I was high on Charlotte. They have 7 points in the last nearly 3 months.
Obviously, the last few weeks, they've been without Ajiman and Tim Ream, which is gonna hurt. I think there's a whole big transfer saga going on right now with Adelson Malanda. Is he leaving? Is he staying? All that fun stuff. I don't think Christian Colina has been as good as he was last year. I don't think Andrew Privet has been as good as what he was last year. The other attacking pieces on this roster, like a Toklamati or a Kelvin Vargas or Liel Abada, they haven't really done much to impress me, to be perfectly honest, or like stand out. So I think it's a lot of players who were really good last year who just aren't playing at the same level. And then you have Pep Biel in the middle of it, who I think is playing at a very high level, to give him credit. But I don't know. I don't think we're seeing the same quality of...
I mean, we're definitely not. And Wilfried Zaha hasn't. I'm not going to say it because then he's going to...
I didn't even say Wilfried.
He's going to make an Instagram post about it, so...
I mean, please do that. That would actually be great. But, yes, I mean...
I actually love Zaha, too. It's so sad.
I'll be perfectly honest. I didn't mention Wilfried Zaha not on purpose, but just because I
What's there to say?
I forgot he was kind of on the roster.
Oh, my God. I noticed you didn't mention him, and I was like, "Are you what?" Like,
no, that wasn't on purpose.
He also hasn't been up to what we expected.
It's fair. He hasn't, but yeah, that was not on purpose. That was just a whoops on my part. All right, Austin FC. They've signed 25-year-old central midfielder Nicky Belcolo as a free transfer after last playing for FC Luzern in the Swiss Super League. Which I don't know. I don't know if Austin needed central midfield depth. I think they've.
I don't really know what. I don't know if they know what they need, but they're going to a semifinal for the Open Cup. So
they are. Good for them. Their first semifinal ever in club history.
I mean, Toronto, what is that? 3 years?
4 years. 5? I don't know.
Is it 5 years? Man, time is.
20.
No way. I'm looking it up.
It has to be 2019. No.
I'm looking at
2021. Jesus Christ! No,
how did
4
you
years.
find that? So, oh yeah, 2021.
I just googled.
Austin. So what is that? So I was right.
4 years.
This is the fourth year. This is their 4th year.
Yeah.
So they've only been around for 3 years.
So if we're talking about it, that's pretty good, I guess, beginning for how much I think Austin kind of shits the bed at times. But whatever.
You mean spending like $40 million on strikers and not scoring.
I mean, Brandon Vazquez, get better. Toronto FC. They have.
You meant get healthy, not get.
Yes, sorry, not guess, not get.
Yeah, because that could have come off poorly.
He's actually been scoring the most and doing the most. The 3 attacks.
Well, I mean, he's an MLS scorer. We know that.
We know what Brandon Vazquez does.
This is a fun one.
Toronto FC, they've used their 2 contract buyouts for 2025 on DP attackers Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi. Toronto said, get the fuck out of town.
Remember when I was talking about teams who held on to players who were underperforming too long? This is one of those teams.
How about teams who held on to absolute locker room cancers? I mean, not to look, Bernardeschi, much better. MLS.
I mean, both of them had. Well,
no, Insigne didn't do a goddamn
thing. Yeah, no, he didn't have any moments. Bernardeschi this season had some pretty decent moments.
And last year Bernardeschi could have been he played a wingback role
I feel like it was inconsistent though at best.
It was still good in terms of I think what we're looking at in terms of
for Toronto. Yeah, it was good. It's crazy. Toronto has such a fall off. Like this team went to 2 or 3 MLS Cups in a row.
Or Toronto had only a few good years, and the rest of them have been bad. But, whatever. They also might be going through an ownership group thing right now,
I'm not here for the negativity.
Sorry. But Bernardeschi, 31-year-old, this year had 4 goals and 3 assists in 15 games. And then Insigne had 1 goal and 3 assists in 13 games for Toronto. Obviously, again, similar to the Giroud conversation of just not DP level, Toronto should probably be spending their money elsewhere, especially for the salaries that, and we're talking Insigne specific, but the salaries that these guys were on. Houston Dynamo and Nico Lodeiro, they've mutually terminated his contract, and he is reportedly heading back to his boyhood club of Nacional down in Uruguay. I wanted to bring this up because, I mean, to me, maybe the pure amount of games played or minutes logged aren't there, but I think Nico Lodeiro deserves a shout to be part of an MLS Mount Rushmore. And I don't know if maybe I'm crazy for saying this, but I think he's an MLS legend. CONCACAF Champions Cup winner, right? 2-time MLS Cup champion. He led the league in assists one time. He was a best 11 member one time. He was part of the CONCACAF Champions Cup best 11 twice. He won MLS Newcomer of the Year. He is, without a doubt, I think, Sounders' probably best MLS player of all time. First on all-time assists in Sounders history, 4th all-time in goals in Sounders history, 5th in minutes played in Sounders history and 9th in all-time games played in Sounders history. He had 61 goals and 73 assists between his 3 stops in MLS, Seattle, Houston, and Orlando. I mean, I think Nico Lodeiro should be getting way more love than what I've seen people not give him after all of this has happened. That's all I want to say.
I mean, yeah, that guy had an incredible career. I don't know if I would agree on MLS Mount Rushmore, because that I would have to really do some digging in, and also like what players meant to MLS. Like, I think Beckham is probably on the Mount Rushmore just from the impact he had. But
you don't think the modern day Champions Cup winning?
I think if you go from like 2015 to now, he's on it. Like, in terms of impact, like for sure on a Sounders Mount Rushmore, 100%. Like you said, probably potentially best ever.
Talking full scope of the league is probably a little bit of a stretch, but I just think the impact he brought to Major League Soccer, literally from.
I mean, he was a best. I mean, I guess he wasn't a best 11 player every year, but it felt like he was a best 11 player every year for a really long time with those Sounders teams.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think the Sounders are winning what they won, or even close to, without him. I don't think they're having the stretch they had without him. I don't think they're even in the conversation of what we're seeing, without him.
Yeah.
I mean, he made a CONCACAF Champions Cup best 11 twice. So that kind of just tells you all you need to know about the career he had and how good he was.
And he was the captain for the team. Maybe Stefan Frei was, but still one of the leaders of the team that is the only modern day team to win the competition, which we're seeing year after year. Vancouver, Columbus, LAFC. It's difficult to win this competition. So I just think Nico Lodeiro deserves his love.
Was he a DP when he signed?
Yeah, he was a DP. Remember, he joined the Sounders mid-year. The Sounders were in last place. The
Sounders did their typical
winning streak with Lodeiro and then won MLS Cup. I mean, like, it's insane what he did individually for the Sounders organization, but then I don't know, just like even for his own career, I feel like at that
the Sounders Mount Rushmore is actually kind of fun to think about. Like
Stefan Frei, Nico Lodeiro, and
Alonso, maybe
Ozzy, yeah,
maybe. Trying to think of like a striker.
Jordan Morris. Christian Roldan.
Oh yeah, Christian Roldan.
Sorry.
I was trying to think of who was I'm drawing a blank. Who was their striker like a year ago, 2 years ago? Who was there for
Rui Diaz.
Rui Diaz, but I don't know if I would put Rui Diaz in their Mount Rushmore.
I think it's got.
I like Roldan better in a Mount Rushmore for Sounders.
It's unless you and I can't think of someone obvious. It's got to be Roldan, Frei, Ozzy,
and Lodeiro.
It has to be. I mean,
all right, Seattle fans, if you're listening to this, tell us if you agree or not. If are we like? I mean, we're doing this literally off the top of our head, so hopefully somebody.
I'm gonna clip this and I'm gonna tag some Seattle people I know, and I want.
Yeah, did we miss anyone crucial? Because I feel like there's somebody we're not thinking of. But like when I think of the Sounders, I think of like those. Obviously, you think of Stefan Frei.
Yeah.
With Lodeiro, like obviously, Ozzy Alonso was like one of the first names that I thought of when we were talking about it.
It's fair.
And then.
Chad Marshall, but he also had a long career with the Crew, so that's tough. But
yeah, I'm trying to think of like Mount Rushmore, Seattle.
I like R4.
I do. I think Rui Diaz might have a shout, but I personally don't think it was like long enough.
If I don't clip this and post it, I need you to remind me to do that. All right.
50 minutes in, or 52, 53. I don't know when we started.
I need to finish up these signings. San Jose Earthquakes, they've loaned out their record-breaking signing in Hernan Lopez to Argentine club Argentinos Juniors. This opens up a DP spot for the Quakes. And then FC Cincinnati, they signed a U22 initiative winger, wingback, and their
they need more firepower.
I mean, they need center backs, but they always need center backs. So interesting spot. Interesting spot for the Quakes. I'm going to go with that of these two signings.
I don't really get it. He played 7 games?
I don't think Hernan Lopez ever really kind of fit into what Bruce Arena was doing, which is kind of like a shitty thing of just.
Did they buy him before?
They bought him before Bruce Arena.
Okay, then it makes more sense.
Which is just kind of like a shitty transition. I think you give Bruce Arena an open DP spot. Chicho Arango's been scoring. Quakes could be even
crazy, a club record signing that just like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, literally. But, it happens when new coaches and there's a new ownership coming in, and San Jose is in an interesting spot. They're also not that far off from a home playoff game, which is crazy. But San Jose, they're doing good. I'm gonna lump this into kind of all just one, Jason. There's been a lot of long-term injuries that have happened in the last month, from Sam Adekugbe, Andres Reyes, Stefan Frei had that scary injury collision at the end of the Crew game.
Did they announce how long he'll be out?
No, I don't even think it's a case of that. I think it's just, whatever. Brandon Vazquez, obviously, I'm not trying to, make a joke of it at this point. Obviously, we've mentioned him a few times. Obi Nwobodo is going to be out for a couple months for FC Cincinnati. Like, a lot of big-time injuries, a lot of long-term injuries for players around Major League Soccer. It sucks.
It's part of it. I mean, it happens every year. Not that I'm like trying to downplay it. It's more just like
shut up, guys. It's
horrible.
Yes. No.
It's just like it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really. That was a bad thing to say, I guess.
Okay. I told Brandon Vazquez to get better, so
I think out of context that sounded bad, but I was there to clarify. You meant like get healthy.
Yes, and you didn't mean what you said. It's fine.
And then we just clarified it again. So if anyone like zoomed forward and missed you saying Brandon Vazquez get better, now they've heard it.
Yes, thank you, Jason. Thank you. All right, let's talk Club World Cup, and I want to just quickly,
team or.
I was gonna say I want to start with kind of Seattle and LAFC as a lump of, because I think a lot of what they did was similar, and I can compare it almost.
I
think let's go.
You go. I kind of feel differently, but say what you're gonna.
No, we can go team by team. You want to start with LA?
Okay.
Right.
I think LA was the most disappointing of the three.
That is why I said I was going to start with them. I think they're the easy conversation.
But that's why I don't feel like. I think if you lump them with Seattle, and obviously the results for Seattle look not that great.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like Seattle was as disappointing as LAFC, for
fair.
Obvious reasons.
That's fair. So I'll start with it. LAFC, they finished fourth in their group during the Club World Cup. 1 draw and 2 losses. They finished on 1 point. They lost to Chelsea 2-0. Lost to Esperance 1-0 on like a heartbreaking PK at the end of the game. And then LAFC drew Flamengo on the last game of the group stage match day, 1-1, and good result, right? Flamengo, big time team in Brazil, and Brazil had definitely a major showing overall in this competition, but they should have done better. I don't know, right? Like if you told me Flamengo knew they were moving on, so LAFC could get a draw. I feel like they honestly should have beat Esperance for how that game was played. Buanga should have probably converted that PK. And
if anything, this should have been a draw.
At least gotten a point there. And I don't think they looked that bad against Chelsea.
Well, and that's why, you just named the games in reverse order of them playing. But, I think that's why I was so disappointed, is because I watched that Chelsea game thinking, I want to see the LAFC that I think they can be. And honestly, for most of that game, they were that team. They looked good at times. They had chances. They just couldn't finish, which it's Chelsea. Obviously, Chelsea's the better team. The goal that Chelsea scored in early on was honestly some very poor MLS type defending, where they just kind of let him run behind.
Chelsea's in the final of the competition,
But, also at the same time, LAFC had chances to make it 1-1 plenty of times. I think the late 79th minute Enzo Fernandez goal, I wasn't blown away. I feel like LAFC, and then they still had another chance after that too. This easily could have been 2-1 or even 2-2.
Look,
like the bummer was like a pretty high bar in terms of sure mistakes were made. They lost 2-0. There was some pretty bad defending to allow 2 of those goals, but like I went into the Esperance game and even the Flamengo game thinking these are both winnable games, and they were winnable games.
Yeah, I mean, especially right. Like I think Flamengo rotated the roster a little bit, which maybe helped the result. But look, to me, the Chelsea game, I was fine with the result. The Flamengo game, obviously fine with the result. It's the Esperance game that just really.
Well, I also feel like LAFC was kind of like after that game, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, they were eliminated heading into the.
Yeah, so they were already like done. I mean, a draw gave them like what, $1 million extra. So.
Yeah. I mean, look, they made some money there for sure.
But yeah, the disappointment came from like a good performance against the hardest opponent in the group, and then pretty bad performances, I'd say, in the other 2 games.
Yeah,
or uninspiring performances.
That's fair, and that's why I don't think I can label LAFC's complete Club World Cup performance as like, oh my god, it's so negative. But it could have been better for sure.
It was just disappointing in the way it played out, but the fact that they were there, they won the game to get in. They earned all that money. Like, let's put it this way: I went into this tournament, and I think both of us went into this tournament hoping for a result.
Yes, and we got multiple results.
We got a lot of results. So, like, all things considered, in hindsight, like this was great, but I also with the way they played versus Chelsea, I expected more, I think, for the other 2 games.
Yeah. And look, we can, I think, roll that right into the Seattle Sounders, who were definitely put into the group of death in this competition. Botafogo, Atletico Madrid, and PSG. Losing to Botafogo 2-1 in the first game, then losing to Atletico Madrid 3-1 in the second game before losing to PSG 2-0 in the final game of the group stage.
Another finalist.
Another finalist. MLS teams only played finalists, okay? The Sound.
Good point. Yeah, I was like, wait.
The MLS teams in this competition played the best teams. The Sounders finishing 4th in the group, 0 points, 3 losses, right? I think that... I
mean, Atletico Madrid didn't make it out of this group. I feel like we should talk about how hard this group was.
That sentence alone, that headline alone probably is like, oh, the Sounders suck. But if you watch these games, the Sounders put up a pretty good showing, I would say, for half of the Botafogo game, for half of the Atletico Madrid game, and I'm going to say for most of the PSG game. Like,
PSG scored 2 goals in 9 minutes versus Real Madrid today.
Yeah. Look, the Sounders allowed less goals to PSG than what Real Madrid did. So, who's better? Sounders better than Madrid. That's all.
PSG's been beating most people by more than 2 goals. So, like, I think the only reason, like, obviously the Sounders had the hardest group of the teams, in the results kind of. I didn't want to see them get embarrassed, and I would say they definitely didn't get embarrassed in any of these games.
No, I think they honestly.
In fact, some of them, like, I was proud.
No, I was going to say, I think the Sounders fan base should be proud. I think a lot of the Sounders players and coaching staff probably gained a lot of international respect from it because they put in shifts. And if we want to talk Christian Roldan put in an absolute show in all 3 of these games.
Yeah, he said, I'm getting up for this stuff, and I loved it.
Christian Roldan's like, I'm trying to play back into the USMNT player pool right now. And you know what? He might have done it.
Christian Roldan is for sure a Mount Rushmore Seattle player. Like,
Christian Roldan is
I would fight for that. I love him.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's also a Seattle guy, I'm pretty sure, right? He went to college in Seattle or whatever. I don't think he's from Seattle, but still, he's a Seattle guy through and through. So shout out Christian Roldan for what he did for the Sounders overall, but just in this competition and Mount Rushmore player. Yeah. Inter Miami. let's talk Inter Miami. The opening game of the competition, the big 0-0 draw against Egyptian Giants Al Ahly. You can make the argument the Miami probably shouldn't have gotten a result. It was an absolute goalkeeper show out in the game, but a result.
Hey, that's part of the team.
And they got a big point. And then Miami go 2-1 win over Portuguese giant FC Porto, the first ever win for a CONCACAF club, period, over a UEFA club in an official competition. So Miami not only getting a big win in this competition, but also creating history. And then
also in that game, going down a goal and fighting back to win 2-1, I think is even more impressive.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I mean, it was a great team performance that we don't always see from Inter Miami, which is funny enough.
And a great Messi free kick.
Yeah, I mean,
I literally was watching this game and said he's going to score this. This is like right in his perfect spot.
He was not gonna end the Club World Cup without scoring a goal. You know, he was gonna do something. And then the final game of the group stage, Miami still needed to
a stressful game.
They needed a result to help them get through out of the group stage, and they got the result: 2-2 draw against Palmeiras. They were up 2-0. Obviously, Miami late game does what Miami late game does. They allow some goals. Palmeiras comes back with 2 late goals to finish things up 2-2. They pick up 1 win and 2 draws in the group, finish second to Palmeiras. And
this was like a pretty bummer, I would say, of a fall apart, I guess, like because they had to go play PSG.
The fact that they finished second in the group and advanced is a win, period, for an MLS team. I don't care.
I agree. No, I totally agree. Yeah. And like they looked good in a lot of. I mean, they looked good for 80 minutes in this game, right? Suarez just turned back the clock and looked like prime Suarez at times. I think it was, and we texted about it, I think, when it was happening, and I was like, man, like I know this is a huge win for an MLS team to get out of the groups, but holy crap, we were so close.
Yeah.
Avoiding PSG.
It should have happened. Ultimately, Miami should have avoided PSG, but they didn't. Palmeiras got what they needed to get. Miami
PSG did PSG things.
Yeah, Miami goes into the Club World Cup round of 16 against the European champions, and as of recording, a team that's playing in a final against Chelsea, and they got smoked 4-0. PSG
at the half, and then they took the foot off the gas.
Yeah, literally. PSG got up early. From Joao Neves, he had finished his brace in the 39th minute. Toto Aviles getting his name on the score sheet with an own goal. Hakimi picking up a goal just before the half. Inter Miami knocked out of the Club World Cup. It was an unbelievable tournament for Inter Miami. I'm going to say an unbelievable tournament for MLS teams.
I was going to say MLS as a whole, I was like incredibly happy with.
Yes. It would have been great if LAFC picked up a win against Esperance. I think that would have just, in my brain, made this entire competition for MLS that much better. But
I think it would be really interesting because if they did win that, then that Flamengo game would have been like potentially a knockout game or whatever.
in the competition. But I was very happy with all 3 teams. If I'm looking super high level at all of it, obviously Miami carries. I think Sounders carry a little bit too. But I think it was a very good representation of the league on a global scale that obviously there's a lot of eyes on, from front offices to coaches to everything in marketing teams to everything in between, right? So shout out to LAFC, Seattle Sounders, and Inter Miami for doing their thing this summer and adding more games to their plate. Do we want to quickly finish up with where things are at with these cup competitions? You pick
a Open Cup quick, or?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Open Cup, we are recording day of.
Well, that game just got postponed. So
yes, I was going to say, so what was supposed to be Philadelphia Union Red Bulls, Nashville SC DC, Philly Red Bulls is postponed, so we will see when that gets made up.
Probably pretty quickly, I would think.
I would assume maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. I don't know, because you're getting close to match day. That's tough.
And they definitely both play this weekend, right?
Yeah, for sure. But Nashville and DC are only kicking off now.
Oh, so they literally play Saturday each other.
Oh, there you go.
So they'll just postpone the MLS game
whatever
probably.
the result of Saturday is, just make
just double it.
Just fuck it, just double it.
That's actually so funny. I kind of wish they would do that, but they're not going to do that.
Wow, DC 4th-minute goal against Nashville. That's crazy.
Oh my, I literally just looked at it.
Yeah, this is and so whatever. So ultimately, the results we do know right now of the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinals.
We can skip it. We can skip it.
Minnesota United took down the Chicago Fire in extra time. Look, Chicago went down early. It was a red card for Omar Gonzalez. Only the second red card in his career. I don't know if you caught that. That's wild.
I did see that. I also feel like it was a bit
above the head. Above the head.
I'm just saying it could have been a yellow. It could have been a warning. It didn't need to be a red.
It seemed a little soft, but anything above the neck.
I get it, but like a stray hand, he wasn't like never mind. Whatever.
Everyone's
the
getting
team
a
played
taste.
great down a man. Okay, they played well. Chris Brady, I'm glad he's back and healthy because he's so good.
Everyone's getting a taste of my text conversation with Jason last night during the game.
I'm spiraling, going, how is this a red?
So Kelvin Yeboah had a brace in extra time to seal the win for Minnesota over a 10-man Chicago Fire squad. Minnesota advanced to the U.S. Open Cup.
They were 10 men for like 115 minutes.
It was, look, and I have to give the Fire credit for hanging on as long as they did.
But props to Minnesota, got the job done. They probably should have had more than one goal.
Probably. I think they got maybe a little lucky in the terms of that.
Or I guess they did have more than one.
Chicago didn't have a full 11 men for a majority of that game, but, you still got the job done.
I think that would have been an amazing game with 11v11.
It would have been fun to watch, honestly, with the full one.
I don't know if we would win. I think we would have a good chance, and it would have been a lot more interesting.
If Chris Brady was playing like he was, and you guys had 11 men, I mean, that's fair. This
one was a crazy game.
This one was insane. So I watched the
what
first.
What was going on? This was like an AYSO game, like little kids.
San Jose
balls just going everywhere.
Versus Austin FC. The game finished 1-1 in regulation, then 2-2 at the end of extra time, forcing the game to go to PKs. In PKs, Austin would win 4-2. Brad Stuver made 2 big-time saves. Chicho Arango screenshotted his PK against Brad Stuver, showing Stuver was off the line early. It's a lot of social media drama with this one. I love it. I'm here for it.
I love when they do it for an Open Cup game, too.
Literally.
Like, they care, man.
Stuver had 9 saves in or I guess at the end of extra time as well, so he was absolutely on fire.
Yeah, I mean, San Jose was just peppering the goal at times.
San Jose. I think San Jose got a little robbed in this game from the refs.
They could have probably had 4 goals in regulation.
Espinoza got his fucking leg gashed open, and there was like a no call on it. It is what it is. I think the positive for Austin, which there's maybe not many positives to take out of it. You just lost your leading goal scorer as well. But the positive is you're moving on to
I was going to say they moved on. That's the positive.
You're moving on to a semifinal. You're 2 wins away from a trophy and a Champions Cup spot. Murto Izuni scored his first goal for the club since March.
This is like a team of zombies. It's like zombie Austin.
I think
how are they still in this?
If you look at Minnesota and Austin, right, the 2 teams left on that side of the bracket, you look at DC, Nashville, Philly, and Red Bulls, all of these teams, I think it would be an unbelievable story for them to win a trophy and a Champions Cup spot for next year. Like, DC need it. Nashville's on an absolute rise this year. Minnesota would have it with a young manager and a fun, hot team. Austin kind of in what they spent a bunch of money. It's a new kind of side coming into their own. Philly, they've only ever had the supporter shield. Red Bulls.
I personally want it to be.
Give me your dream Open Cup final right now.
Dream Open Cup final. I just have to make sure it's possible first. I think I want it to be Nashville versus Minnesota.
I think
just from like a very good deserving teams. Like, I don't want to piss anybody off, but there's
who doesn't deserve it, Jason? Give me who doesn't deserve it. Is it a team that's in our nation's capital?
Sam Nelson, please cover your ears.
I'd like to see Minnesota Philly. I'm with you on the Minnesota side of things. I think they're a fun team. They're a
also, Austin is just like again, they're like zombies. Like, how are they even alive? How are they here?
Because they have such moments.
It's such a weird team. It's so weird.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm always disappointed in their performances, but yet they're like getting results.
Yeah, you're not wrong. To quickly look at the Canadian Championship side of things.
Did the game start back up?
I did. Yeah, I mentioned before how Montreal was up 1-0. They're currently losing 2-1 to Forge FC
in the 90th minute. Yep, that's over. That's over.
So yeah, Forge FC have eliminated CF Montreal.
What do I have my 2025 predictions? Canadian Championship. Let's see who chose.
I picked good old Montreal folks. So thanks for that. Fucking whoever's left on that team. I don't know. You're talking about a team of zombies. Jesus Christ. And
Vancouver, though, they're still in it, and somebody picked Vancouver.
Vancouver tied 2-1 after the first leg against Valor FC. They have to get past Valor tonight, Jason. Okay.
I know. You have Minnesota in the Open Cup. I just noticed.
I did. I do have that. So that's why I want Minnesota to be in the final. But Vancouver has had a little bit of a rough stretch recently. They didn't have Brian White. They didn't have Sebastian Berhalter. They've had some injuries. They lost to the Galaxy last match day. It has not been the best right now going on for the Whitecaps. So I think a good Canadian Championship run for them would be a positive one. Jason, anything else before we get your pick for the weekend and then we get the hell out of here?
Wait, you want my pick of the weekend or?
Yeah, I'm saying like anything else that you want to say before we get to that. Giorgio Chiellini joined LAFC's ownership group. That's fun.
Happy to be back.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back.
Fun to talk about a lot of tournaments that we pretty much didn't talk about while they were going on.
And we just nailed all of it.
So. Yeah, we absolutely killed it. The nice little review.
Yes. All right. So give me
game of the week is easy this week. It's Hell is Real.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think Miami-Nashville is also going to be a banger.
I mean, that is 100% fair.
Those are both at the exact same time on Saturday, so do with that with what you will.
The only way I think there's a game that beats it is if somehow Major League Soccer announces the Union Red Bull game counts twice.
Okay, if that counts twice, then yeah.
Only way
that's also at 6. I get at least 6:30. That's my time.
It's a 7:30 game.
Yeah, 7:30 p.m. Yeah, that's going on the big screen.
This game counts for a semifinal opportunity and a game in league.
There's only one Sunday game, so St. Louis, Portland, you're the lucky winner.
I'm watching the Club World Cup that day,
The finals that day, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's the summer of soccer, right? Whatever that means rolls on. We will see the results of these Open Cup games, Canadian Championship games, watch some MLS this weekend, and we will be back next week. And I promise you, listeners and viewers, we will be back next week. Jason, it is a pleasure to be talking again.
As always.
Rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.